Welcome to Life After the Fire. This is the preeminent podcast on everything related to what it's like and building a life after the fire service. I'm Chris Phelps, your host. I'm joined today with my good friend, Rickey Rodriguez. You prefer Rickey Rodriguez, or what do most people call you? Chief?
Yeah.
Chief?
A lot of my friends call me Rickey Rod, and that's just kind of been the nickname. But yeah, Rickey Rodriguez, but mostly Rickey Rod.
Cool. So Rickey and I have a little history together back in the day, and some of this, obviously he remembers much better than I do. Show my years, but we work together at a local fire department here in South Florida. We don't have to say share any names to keep all the guilty people guilty and the innocent people innocent, whatever. But how did we first connect?
So like you said, we first connected at the fire department, and you were one of the senior medics, and you actually was my first preceptor.
It's crazy.
My first call that I was in charge of technically was with Chris.
Wow.
So
isn't that something?
I remember it clear as day. But just a great interaction. I can tell you were a mentor. You knew how to guide me in the right way. You didn't coddle me too much, but you also didn't leave me out there to hang either. So I appreciate that.
Well, good. Yeah. Good stuff. And over the years, you're no longer with that fire department. You moved on to another fire department, and just watching from the cheap seats, it looks like you've been doing some pretty cool stuff. So the whole premise behind the show is about a life after the fire service, and one of the reasons we started this thing is because we've seen too many people whose careers are being cut short, and they hadn't prepared themselves and set themselves up for success outside of the fire department. So what have you been doing? What have you done?
So learning, having the opportunity within both of my fire departments to be assigned to a very senior station. So guess what the majority of their conversations were?
About retirement.
And one of the big things I learned is what they wish they would have done. I picked up on that. And so I've always kind of been preparing for the end in mind, whenever that end may come. Mm-hmm. So initially, one of them was education. How do I fast forward my education, which would give me opportunities for advancement and also increase earnings? I had a lot of motivation. I had 3 kids at an early age. I was a high school dad. I'm still with the mother, which is incredible. We've been together since 1988.
That's awesome.
So I had a lot of things motivating me as I stood over the table. Stood over their beds, and I made promises that I would accomplish certain goals. And at the beginning, it was education. Later on, I started to open my mind up to business, real estate. But at the beginning, I was focusing on my vertical income. So vertical meaning making money from your W-2.
Right.
That's your vertical. And then later I started thinking about more horizontal income, and that's all of the passive things that you can do. But that was later on. Yeah. And so spring forward, the education and that I did sprung me forward. So I promoted very fast, but I was also competent. The one thing is, in the fire service is you can get a reputation of being book smart, but not street smart. And I was always concerned about that. But I knew I had a lot more experiences than most people did at my age and even older, where my kids were older than people who were 10 years senior than me,
So you had a lot of life experience.
I had a lot of life experiences. So
good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been of the opinion that, don't sit on your hands waiting for the fire department to send you to school.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Every year I would max out whatever they would allow me. to take. And then I didn't just take that as, okay, well, that's it. I guess I can't go to class anymore. I always believed in investing in yourself. So either I put my money out myself to go to school to continue my education. But another thing I did, which was kind of a hack, is go talk to the training chief. I didn't realize how much money was left in those budgets still. And one of my training chiefs, she's now retired. You just go to her, and there was a lot of money there, and you just make the request. Sometimes you just ask, and I did that several times.
So for some of those people that weren't taking advantage of it, that money was left over, and you made a request, and you were able to take advantage of some of that.
Correct.
That money was sitting in that pot. That's
exactly
good.
Right.
That's good.
Exactly right. And that's what life in general, right? You try to find areas where you're not just taking advantage of someone, but taking advantage of a situation where it's sitting dormant anyways. And then that made me a better person in general. That made me a better employee, which allowed me to serve the community that much better. So it was a win-win all the way around.
So it sounds like you had a lot of motivation.
Yes.
And that was part of the reason why you wanted to promote up.
Correct.
But what were some of the more touchy-feely reasons, or maybe not the reasons that you wanted to promote, but the things that you realized once you did promote?
So, the fire department, you have to prove yourself a lot of times. So I had, I found this feeling of wanting to prove, of getting inside of a culture, organization that I didn't have any experience with. So I found myself feeling that I had to prove myself a little harder than maybe other people who, were in that circle before. But once I got in and started, moving forward, I had a lot of support from everyone, all walks of life, that really invested in me. And I've tried to do the same. I think that's one of the reasons why I give a lot, is because a lot has been given to me. But I've just enjoyed the process the entire time. I can't believe that I'm about less than 5 years from retiring. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think that's going to look like for you? What is retirement going to look like? Do you think you'll actually leave the fire service?
So right now, and it's funny, I talk about planning in life. It's a verb, right? It's not a noun, right? So meaning that it's constantly evolving. Yep. So right now, I plan to retire, either before or on that, less than 5 year mark, my actual date. That's my plan. Not because I'm running away from something, but I'm running towards another chapter, or another book. Actually, I'm going to close the fire department book up, and it's going to sit on my table where I can see it all the time, because I absolutely love that experience. But I think people need to, and it's my opinion, need to do different things in their lives, and there's a lot of untapped potential. And I think if people really do self-reflection, a lot of times people may stay for the wrong reasons, out of fear. And one of the primary reasons is they didn't prepare. So financially, they're not confident leaving and being able to sustain their lifestyle. And you can do that if you prepare.
Yeah.
But again, we're having so much fun in the fire service. We're just not, a lot of times we're just not thinking of that. Wow, it's going to actually come to an end. Yeah. And how do I prepare for that?
Yeah. Whether you think about it or not, it sounds like you have been positioning yourself for that day, so that you can close the book and reflect back on a great career. So I know you're part of that is involved in real estate. Tell me about your real estate business and how that came about.
So I tell you, first off, I absolutely love real estate. I just get excited about it. Every aspect, even the, the tedious parts of it. I just get excited about it. And so I know that's what I'm going towards. So in retirement, to me, I get to do this more. So as much as I find myself very fortunate that I got into a career that I loved, and then I'm moving towards another career that I love. Um, and it's like branches, right? There's so many branches in the fire department. I've held several different positions within the fire organization, and you can do the same thing as far as strategies and how you want to position yourself in the real estate world.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to continue expanding my real estate portfolio. And also, we're going to start working on helping others get involved in that. So we already work with private investors. I have quite a bit of investors that invest with me, and they get a fixed rate of return. And that allows them to now identify as, hey, I'm an investor now. And so that sometimes is the first step. And then when they're ready to go out on their own, I'm here, right? But a lot of times it's identity, right? I'm not the type of person that can get involved in real estate. Well, maybe you can't buy your first house at 500,000, but you get in on a smaller where you're an investor, and then now you start to see, now you have more access to me, and now you're getting into that world. But personally, that's what I want to do: continue helping others build their wealth, at the same time building my business.
So you've done this through getting involved with a lot of investment properties. So like how many properties are we talking about, you think?
So I'm probably about 34 or something like that.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. It just, when I was saying earlier, you just put your head down and just go to work, and next thing I know, I look up and wow. And then how I ended up in 2 other states, or 3 total states, is just coincidental. But I think subconsciously I had already been practicing that, thinking about, well, what if I expand over here? Sometimes it was just the challenge of, well, why not me? As I call it, the audacity principle. How dare you? The audacity of you to think that you can get out of your comfort zone, to think that you can actually go do this, right? And so, a lot of times, we like to be challenged. So it's like, how dare you? So that's why I did it. It was just on a whim. But real estate, I absolutely love.
So how old were you when you started the fire department? You said, what, 22?
So I got hired when I was 22 years old.
22. All right. And when did you buy your first home?
So I bought my first home when I was 20, my personal home. I bought my first one at 24.
Okay. And when did you start getting into investment? When did you buy your first investment property?
So I bought my first investment property, I want to say it was when I was 28 or somewhere around there. And that was, I just leapfrog out of that home. I built a new home, and then I turned that one into an investment. But what I didn't know is that I didn't have a strong foundation. So this was around the recession. I ended up losing
2008.
Yes, sir. I ended up losing that one. And when I did self-reflection, now this self-reflection was over a period of about 2 years. As I realized and started doing self-growth and self-reflection, things like that, I realized that I was on a shaky foundation. I never had a strong foundation to build a real estate, and I didn't know what I didn't know. I just thought, hey, I collect rent and I get to keep it all. Oh no, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
So that my focus after that coming out, when I started to purchase again, first I did the whole debt free. So my wife and I really focused. We became completely debt free, paid everything off, and that was part of that setting up that strong foundation. To now, I look around and I go, what's next? Maxed out over here. I'm 457, maxed out over here. What's next? You know what? Maybe it's time to dive back into this real estate game. And that's when we really started to pick up and start buying again.
That's awesome. So I've quoted this statistic before, but you probably know it, but 90% of all millionaires, 90% have gotten there through owning real estate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. As much as I've saved my entire career, it's probably less than, 20, 15% of my net worth now. There's just no way you can actually save up more than you can invest and get the returns. Now, obviously, everything
Through
comes with risk
leveraging.
through leveraging.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. There's no way I'd have the life I have right now without the real estate. I mean, I'll still be happy and comfortable.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have eclipsed certain benchmarks, milestones.
Gotcha. So, I mean, it sounds like you've really set yourself up. You've built that foundation. You've built upon that foundation and grown it into quite the city or small community. But like, is there anything that you would, if you would change or go back and, I would do this a little bit differently. I would get into real estate sooner, or I would not get into real estate until I've accomplished, been debt free, or what would anything you would have done differently?
So yes, I think that's a great question, by the way. I think I would have started sooner.
Yeah.
If I knew what I know now.
Yeah.
So I would have, but I wouldn't have started before I put the foundation in place.
Right.
So I definitely would have been debt free before I went in, personal debt, credit card, all that stuff, because that's anchors, right? Yeah. So it slows you down.
Sure.
So I would have done that, and I would have started purchasing a lot sooner, or at least learning. So one of the things I try to impress upon people is when you start something, it's not when you buy the home. That's actually towards the end. So you start by getting in the mindset first, and then start to educate yourself, get around the people, learn the language, the lingo, all of that before you ever purchase.
Yeah.
So sometimes I think people get caught up with, I need to purchase, and then I can start thinking like an investor. I'm like, no. As soon as you make the decision, you are now on your path towards real estate investor.
Right. And I think you mentioned, and I've seen you're giving back in that regard as well. So what is it that you're doing to help people learn about real estate investing?
So, one of the biggest websites in the world is Bigger Pockets. And I've gone to several events. And so I'm not famous on there, but I'm a little kind of a big deal on there. Yeah. So I get people that respond to me, and I always respond back, and I connect with them. So what I was finding myself doing is meeting people in different places all the time. So I said, what if there was a central place that I can meet, and it was the same day or same cadence every month? Then it'd be more productive, not only for me, but for them too. And so that's when we started the Sirens and Scrubs Real Estate Meetup Group. That way we meet the first Thursday of every month, and we're just there. It's casual. It's not formal. We thought about doing a whole formal PowerPoint, and it's just not the atmosphere I wanted, because it can scare off some people. And I wanted a wide range of people to be there. So we do that now, and it's been great. But the name was inspired because I'm also a registered nurse. So that was the educational piece. And one of the ways, and just to divert a little bit, I became a registered nurse, and I worked for over 10 years in the ER in St. Lucie and Martin County. It was so how do I double my income? Because I had mouths to feed.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I was in that world, my nurse family, then the fire family, and then police officers, because police officers and all, we live in the same kind of a world. So I'm like, what? That kind of inspired the name Sirens and Scrubs. And it's there. I mean, it's there to.
How long have you been doing that now?
So I've probably been doing that now, I want to say September of last year. So it hasn't been that long. It's always been something on my mind. And then one day I'm like, what? How dare I start a meetup group? Who am I? You know what? And so the same kind of principle I tell people, I've used it on myself.
Yeah.
Like, how dare you have the audacity to go start a meetup group?
Yeah.
And if nothing happens, it doesn't happen. Now I'm there. I love the place we meet up. I grab a beer, and it's a win-win. Yeah.
So in starting this podcast, way outside my comfort zone, and and I subscribe to the belief of anything that's worth doing, it's worth doing badly, just get started.
I love it. I love it.
So that's what brought this all to fruition. But in my personal life, real estate helped me get to where I am today. And, this is a pet project, if you will, but this is, along the same lines. This is the Rickey Rod way. We're giving back. And,
Yes.
I'm looking to grow this and pour into the next generation of firefighters. I know you got another second generation firefighter on the job now, right?
Yes.
Up there in Central Florida.
Yep.
I haven't checked with my sources up there in a while, but from what it sounds like he's doing good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if you know, but my son just took a semester off from University of Miami, and he just started the fire academy this past week. Yeah.
Congrats.
That's something.
Congrats.
So so want to pour into our next generation of firefighters.
Agreed.
And teach them some of the stuff, because this is it really is a young woman's job. And you can do a 20-25 year career and come out the other side and be 45 to 50 years old and still have a lot of life ahead of you.
Agreed.
And if you don't prepare for that, and you're just going to depend on what you're receiving from your pension, you might not have a fulfilled life.
Agreed.
So stuff like this and hearing people's stories and what they're doing or what they've done to set themselves up, I think is gonna it's gonna benefit the next generation of firemen.
Totally.
So
I like the mindset. The whole mindset of, I tell them, pretend like you didn't have a pension at the end of it. Just go through your career that way. Watch when you apply scarcity in certain areas in your life, and certainly on the retirement. Now you're forced to do things and think, how could I ensure I have an income or a net worth of substantial amount that could provide an income, can throw off an income if you didn't rely on the pension. And let the pension just be a bonus. Let that be gravy on top. Watch how it changes. So I say, I don't have a pension. The guys know me. I'm the guy that's going to say, you don't have a pension, because you can't control that. But what are you going to do through your efforts? How are you going to ensure you have a pension? Now you have a double pension, or however many pensions you want, every property you buy. So that's kind of that mindset. So you got to have the right mindset before the skill set. So people try to put the skill set in front of the mindset. I'm like, it's never going to work. Skill set follows mindset every time.
So Rickey, you've done a lot of really cool stuff with real estate, and I couldn't be more proud of what I've seen you do.
Thank you.
But I like to end all of these with some sort of a call to action. So if somebody wanted to, somebody's watching this thing and go, man, that Rickey guy is pretty cool. I wish I could do something like that. Where would you send them?
So I would say, you can find me at my Instagram at Rickey Rod, with E, E-Y, Rickey, R-I-C-K-E-Y, Rod, all one word, Rickey Rod. They can find me there. We post things like that. Another place is at our meetup group, Sirens and Scrubs Real Estate Meetup Group. You can find that on the Meetup app, or you can find it on my Instagram.
Cool. So if people are local here in South Florida or willing to make the trip, what is it, like first Thursday of the month?
That's correct.
First Thursday of the month, 6:30 p.m. at Hop Life Brewery now.
That's
where
right.
You've been
That's
doing
where
them?
it's at.
Cool. Grab a beer, talk some real estate, learn about maybe, what your next chapter is going to look like.
Exactly. Easy going, just a real smooth, chill atmosphere where you can, people from all ranges, whether they're never done a deal to have done plenty of deals. And we bring guests in every now and then. So it's just a chill atmosphere to really learn and connect with people.
So it's a pretty low barrier entry way to start learning about real estate and how to get into it. Cool.
Exactly.
Cool stuff. And then for our listeners, our podcast, we'd love to get some feedback on it. So if you could go to LATFpodcast.com, that's one way to find our stuff. We'll add our YouTube channel. Wherever you listen to podcasts, you post a review, shoot it over to us. info@latfpodcast.com. And then if you know somebody that we should connect with, that would be great to hear their story on the show. Send those their contact info. We'd love to get this thing to grow and learn more about how we can help more that next generation of firefighters. Thank you.